in terms of the MRI, we earmarked end of October for commissioning. Various hospitals have mobile X-ray machines which are being installed, and recently our President, Dr. E.T. Mnangagwa, commissioned the equipment consignment with 78 dental chairs meant for the whole country. We have also managed to procure basic ICU ventilators through Global Fund, which have been installed at various hospitals. In an attempt to expand storage space, the NATFAM warehouse, main one at Salimugabe Central Hospital, has been commissioned, and other warehouses are due for commissioning. A similar project is underway in Chad. In terms of construction, through Solar for Health, a total of 1,074 health facilities were powered with solar throughout the country in the last 5 years. We are also in the process of constructing what we call mini hospitals, an example of which is Stonebridge in the Calgary Park Hospital in Malawi through the NMS project. We have so far constructed 4 of these. Besides the ones I've mentioned, there's also Mataga and Chimanimani. Our government analyst laboratory is ISO certified and has been accredited effective 28 March of 2023. Without much further ado, I will allow our Acting Finance Director to give more detail to the budget allocations for 2023, how we have used them, and in addition go to the allocation for 2024 which has been proposed, and how we feel it could be improved for us to continue deliver on the mandate we are given by the state of Zimbabwe. I will allow, with your indulgence, our Acting Finance Director to proceed. Thank you, sir.
So when we went into 2023, the budget allocation for Ministry of Health was 473 million. But as we went through the year, there were some inflationary pressures that we faced around April, and as of date, the revised budget that we have as Ministry of Health is now at 837 billion Zimbabwe dollars. I will repeat what the PS has said, that with this budget we will not be able to procure all we need, hence we are still faced with the challenge of shortage of medicines to give to our institutions. So I will go to the figures in terms of the budget performance program. We're focusing on the programs. The ministry has 4 programs. Policy and administration, which looks at the day-to-day running of the ministry. Public health speaks for itself. Curative services responsible for all our hospitals and service provision. Then we have the biomedical science, engineering and pharmaceutical production program, which looks at mainly the research area. So as we went into 2023, the 473 was broken down such that 95 billion was for policy and administration, public health at 41 billion, and curative services at 333 billion, which shows that that was the main thrust of the ministry. And finally, biomedical science, the last program, had 3 billion. But as we went through the year, like I said, the revised budget was 837, and of this, 700 billion has been disbursed, and expenditure was getting to 648 million. For those who have documents, it's on slide 4. So of the amount that was disbursed, 93% has been utilized to date. Then if we relook at the figures from the economic line items perspective, employment costs took 329 billion of the 648 billion that was used, and this is 100% of disbursement. Operations took 257 billion in terms of expenditure out of the 299 billion. Then we have the capital budget, which is 60 billion out of the 71 billion invest. And for capital and operations, the average expenditure for the members there is 86%. It goes up to 93 in total because of the salaries, which is 100%. Then if we go to the next slide, which is slide 6, we are looking at the specific institutions. We have 6 central hospitals from Parlenatwa, Chitumizawa Central Hospitals, Incheni, Pilo, and United Bulawayo Hospitals. The total original budget of all the 6 was 11.9 billion. Then after the revision, our disbursements got to 13,710,000,000, and as of 30 September, 12.9 billion had been utilized, which is 95% of the disbursement. And this is where some of the money that we need for medicines and other supplies are used. Then if we go to the lower level, the second level, which is the provincial hospitals, we have 7 of those, and one designated provincial hospital, which is St. Luke's. They had a budget of 4.1 billion. Due to the needs, the budget was increased to 8.3 billion, and we used 6.3 billion out of the 8 billion as of 30 September 2023. As we are speaking right now, most of those budgets have already been exhausted, and that expenditure rate was at 76% as of 30 September 2023. Then finally, we have our provincial administrative office, which are the provincial medical directorates, which we normally call the PMDs. The budget of 750 million, it was up to 1.4 billion, and as of 30 September, we had utilized up to 76%. This is general administration, similar to activities that we do the day-to-day running of the ministry at provincial level. And probably to just point out there, we have Bulawayo and Harare PMD, which are new PMDs there. And as of next year, we expect them to perform much better than this year, because this was their first year. Then we have other critical expenditure that we felt that they need to be brought out to the fore. We have supply of drugs and medicines specifically for dialysis, where we had a budget of 3.9 billion. We got a disbursement of 3.2 billion, and we used it all. Not to say this is all we needed, no, but this is what was available, and all we got, we were able to disburse it to various hospitals and health centers, and also utilize it. Blood and blood products, which is another critical commodity in the health sector, had a budget of 1.5 million. The budget increased to 16 billion, and we have utilized it all. Then we have also the costs, which is significant distribution and storage of ARVs, where we had a budget of 688 million. Our revised budget in disbursement was 1.7 billion, and we utilized it all. Maternal and child health care, where we had a budget of 4.1 billion, we got a disbursement of 1.2 billion, and we utilized it all. Then we have medical gases, where we have a budget of 1.8. This is gas for the patients. 9 billion was disbursed and used as well. We have an expenditure line there, which is saying vaccines. These are the vaccines for the young ones, for the EPI. 3 billion there. This money is for the core funding of vaccines, where we have a partner who puts in 80% of the cost, and us as government of Zimbabwe, we put in 20% of the cost, changing as and when according to the agreement. So we got a disbursement of 20 billion. However, the expenditure to date is still at 4.6 billion. We are still waiting on the partner to finalize the procurement process and the payment process of their part so that we come in and pay our part as government of Zimbabwe. The health system strengthening RBF results-based financing projects, we had a budget of 5 billion and disbursement of 22 billion, and we have processed payments to 22 billion, which is 100%, as well as finally contraceptives. This is a co-funding budget of 1.7, we got 1.4, and we processed a payment in invoice of 1.2 billion. Then if we move to domestic resource mobilization, which is slide 10, the ministry manages the health services fund, whose source of funding are the health fees which are paid by the paying customers, by paying categories. There are some who are supposed to be paying, which the government is supposed to finance. Then we have the paying customers. So this is the health services fund, and its main use is to procure the medical supplies, food provisions, smaller pieces of equipment, and also a maintenance, minor maintenances of equipment for the benefits of the patients. All the above, including food, we use the health services fund for the benefits of the patients. When it comes to the collections for the HSF, for the 6 central hospitals, our budgeted collections were 33 billion. The collections, so not budgeted, but the actual collections that we did throughout the year from January to September, they were 33 billion. The expenditures from the various institutions were 27 billion. However, the challenges that our hospitals face continue to be that of non-paying debtors. So currently, our outstanding debtors, those who have been given a service by the hospital, those who deserve to pay or those who should pay but have not yet paid, gets as high as 77 billion for the central hospitals. For the year 2024, in terms of actual cash, our collection is expected to be at 69 after factoring in the issue of also factoring in the issue of debt debtors. Then if we go to the provincial hospitals, the district hospitals and other smaller units, the total budgeted collection was 5 billion. The total collection was 5 billion, expenditure is at 2 billion, and their debtors as well is at 2.8 billion. Currently, those are the debtors that are outstanding, and we expect to collect from all those institutions 75 billion in the year 2024. The health services fund, if you look at the previous 2 slides, currently has a surplus of about 8 billion that we have realized. So not to say that this was a surplus that was there as of 30 September 2022. I think due to the lower disbursement in the last quarter from Ministry of Finance, this is actually the fund that the hospital survive on in terms of the day-to-day usage, in terms of smaller medicines as well as food for the patients. However, the hospitals are facing rapid price increases and changes in prices for medical supplies as well as provisions in their day-to-day running of the hospital. Hence, even if we have the HSF, also coupled with the government of Zimbabwe, both the budgets are not adequate to meet our needs as Ministry of Health and Child Care. The other challenge that we are facing is that as the market has indexed their price to the US dollar, the ministry budget announced on 30 November will remain static until the next November or the next first week of December. So what does this mean? It means that in terms of the value of the budget, it continues to go down even before disbursement, we will be losing value. Because the supplier out there, including even rates, for Harare, for Blawa, even water, those prices are indexed against the US dollar, whilst our budget is not indexed, it's static. Then also for domestic resource mobilization, We have what we call the health levy, which is an amount that is levied on all airtime to our service providers, and it is collected by Treasury. Treasury collects 10% of all our airtime that we are buying. Currently, that fund is part of the Consolidated Revenue Fund. For the first 3 years when it was introduced, 2017 to 2019, we used to have direct disbursements to the ministry. However, following the activation of the Constitution, Minister of Finance is now putting that money in the Consolidated Revenue Fund, and we get it through the budget. So we are saying when we get our budget, the health levy fund is being used to fund that budget that you will have approved in here. We are not getting it separately, which is a variation from when it was introduced, where we thought that Ministry of Health now has an extra budget to support it. So the health levy fund, its main mandate is to support the following areas: medicines, surgical supplies, hospital equipment, laboratory reagents, and any other as determined by the accounting officer, as long as it is for the benefit of the patients. At the moment, the ministry has made an application for direct disbursement from Treasury, and Treasury has indicated that we need to have the constitution, which is a process we have already started, and submitted the draft constitution to the Attorney General. We expect the process to be finalized so that we are going to be able to get these benefits. Then for 2023, still in 2023, we have the PSIP construction projects, where for our central hospitals, we had a budget of 800 million. Just on an axle, not this one, let's keep this one. We had a budget of, go to slide 18. For the head office, the HSB, it was then Nonsense World Apologies, it's now Nonsense Commission. They had a budget of 100 million in 2023, and they got all their 100 million. We had a budget for ambulances and staff buses. This budget initially started at 4 billion, however, the revised budget, which is the current budget, is now at 20, following the disbursements and the payments that we did to buy ambulances. And I think these were 36 ambulances and 28 staff buses. Then if we go to central hospitals had a disbursement of 19 billion altogether. 18 billion was utilized. And specifically for medical equipment, we got a disbursement of 9 billion, and all this we have utilized to pay for the outstanding invoices, though we still have other outstanding invoices unpaid for the supply of various pieces of medical equipment. For our provincial hospitals, we have 16 billion, budget of 16 billion, and we have received, we have utilized 15 billion, which is 96. Then for the research units, the Government Analysis Laboratory and the National Institute of Health Research, we had a budget of 59 billion in total. What are the challenges that we are facing when it comes to PSIP? These are the few challenges that we have here, though there are many. The suppliers are currently not willing to supply goods and services before payment to the ministry or to the government. So we made a recommendation to Treasury that we need to pay our suppliers as early as possible after getting a service. We also had an inconsistent cash release for our projects. Yes, the releases came, but you find that there would come a time that we could go for 2 months, 2 dry months. So that at times was affecting implementation of our projects. Then we have the issue of due diligence, which added additional days to the lead time of the procurement process. So we are appealing to Treasury that it needs to give a clear guideline on how to do due diligence, especially on construction projects, where it is very difficult to compare one project which is happening in Matebelele and another project which is happening in Midland, for example. Then we have the challenge of price instability, which is affecting also project planning and implementation, where we are saying with Treasury or as Treasury, we need to come up with feasible contract price arrangements, because most of the contracts are difficult to enter into. Suppliers sometimes chicken out when we say we are in October and we want to sign a contract which is in RTGS, at times they start factoring in inflation, and their rates sometimes become very unreasonable at very high contract prices, or some of them they just withdraw. This honorables was the performance for our 2023. We move on to 2024, whereas we were developing our budgets in response to the treasury request. We used the zero-based approach type of budgeting, and we also factored in the use of price due diligence in our costing. We also factored in the outstanding PSIP projects, the invoices that are currently there, as well as the outstanding weights which were posted, so that we come up to the requirements of the 2024 budgets. And the priority programs that we have under each of the programs, under program 1, mainly is for the provision of our day-to-day services and utility services like rates, water, maintenance of office building, health worker training and development and retention, as well as monitoring and evaluation to ensure that our ministry objectives are achieved. Then for program 2, public health, we will be focusing towards NCD's mental health. Under mental health, we are also focusing on the renovation and upgrading of mental health institutions. Not to say these are the only items that we are focusing on, but we are saying these are the items that are being brought to the fore. Under curative services, we are saying we need to improve on the provision of medical medicines in our hospitals and clinics. We also need to improve on the specialist care services that we give to our patients, hence the need for training of specialists, the repairs and maintenance of medical equipment, which takes quite a lot because this is a delicate technical equipment that we have, as well as procurement of medical equipment because of aged equipment that the PS was referring to. The repair bill will end up being far much more than buying the equipment altogether. Then at the end of the day, we need to be rehabilitating our existing infrastructure. Where there is need, we will be constructing, starting new projects altogether, but mainly we will be rehabilitating our projects. So the budget for 2024 is like this. The bid that we had proposed, or that we are proposing, is currently standing at 2.272 trillion. Ministry of Finance is giving us 2 trillion. This is what they are saying is coming up. And in terms of percentage, that's only 28% of what we need. As we go, I think we'll be discussing further. Then in terms of our performance, if we look back at how we were performing in the past years, from 2019, we put in there. Yes.
I think we need to clarify. You said it was 2 trillion.
10.272 trillion. The proposed allocation is 2.918 trillion, which is around 20%. In terms of the performance of our budget over the past 4 years, we are saying we expect that government gives us at least 15% of the budget according to the budget declaration. However, from 2019 to 2023, the highest allocation that we have is 2021, where we had an allocation of 12.87%. The next year, 2022, we went down to 12.16%, which is also in violation of our constitution, which says no allocation should be going down. Instead, it should be actually improving. And this year, we had a 12.85% of the whole government budget. That 473 billion was representing 12.85% of the whole budget. I will try to put a graphical presentation on slide 26 there, where we are saying that's where we are performing down there. We expect to go a little up. So if you go to the year 2024, where that X is where we expect that Ministry of Finance will be placing us. Our budget, we expect at least 20.5% or above, so that we are moving. We know that we are moving towards the 15%. It may be difficult to achieve the 15%, given the various priorities that we are expecting to be getting an improvement. Then for the budget, in terms of program, just focusing on the program, I will just go to the totals of the programs. For the day-to-day administration, the bid was 2.6 trillion. The allocation is 600 billion, which is only 23% of what we wanted. It is under this program where we find the settlement of rates, the settlement of water, electricity, which are also key inputs to our service provision, especially water. Then under communicable diseases, we have a bid, total bid of 641 billion. Proposed allocation is 264. We are saying proposed allocation because this was the expenditure target that we got from Ministry of Finance. Sometimes they change for the better. Very rarely they change downwards. So we got 41%. Currently, we are at 41% of what we wanted under the public health. Then under curative services, our need there was at 3 trillion, at 6.885 trillion. A proposed allocation is at 2 trillion. So to us, this means that we won't be able to be giving services to the patients that we need. Because if we are operating below 50% capacity, then there will be a challenge in terms of the service provision, medical supply, equipment, and other critical services that we need to give to our patients. Under the research unit, proposed bid was 102 billion, and the allocation is currently at 17 billion. 102 billion against 17 billion, that's about 17% of our requirement. We expect, like what the PS said, for us to continue in the health environment, there is always continuous research. So there is need for continuous research to carry on the changing disease burdens, the new diseases that are coming in will require research. However, it's sometimes becoming very difficult because our institutions do not have the funding to support their activities. Then we extracted specifically the individual institutions, critical institutions that are there for service provision. And as you can see on slide 31 there, for our central hospitals, where we wanted 1.3 trillion for all, what the Ministry of Finance was proposing is only 52 billion, just 4%, of which these are our referral institutions where we have challenges down there. They refer to the central hospitals, but the central hospitals don't have even the littlest amount for them to be able to provide the decent services. The same applies for our provincial hospitals who got 5% of the bid that they had applied for. Then if we go on slide 33, we also extracted critical services out there. And under these critical services, the first 5, where there are drugs and medicines, blood and blood products, ARV storage, maternal and medical gas. We put in a column there to reflect what the ministry is owing as we are speaking. The current debt, like the PS said, for our medical supplies and hospitals is 115 billion, but the proposed allocation is 12 billion, which means that we won't have anything in the year. Requirement for blood, current debt is 27 billion. The whole year's allocation for next year is proposed to be 9 billion. The same applies to ARV and maternal, where the allocations there are far less than what we expect. Medical gas there, we had a bid of 89, an allocation of 4. Maternal, a bid of 123, allocation of 9 billion. And the current debt is maternal, we are owing institutions around 36 billion. This is where we provide free services, maternal services to the patient, and the government of Zimbabwe is supposed to be reimbursing the institutions for for the services that they will be given or providing the supplies. So the slide on slide 34 is I think the final outlook of what we are talking about. The green on the left is the capital. The yellow on the right with 46% capital allocation. The yellow on the right is the employment costs, which is 45% for our salaries and wages. And the blue is 481 billion, which is for the day-to-day operations. That allocation of 9% is why the hospital exists, to provide a service. In other words, they are saying we'll be coming to work to build our hospital and pay salaries and very little of service provision if the budget expenditure target doesn't change. Then we move slightly to slide 36, where we talk briefly on the partner support. We have various programs that are partner supported, so we will start it out. Then we have a global fund. That slide is in US dollars, apologies for not specifying. So global fund, we have the NMCP, we have malaria, COVID-19 and the TB grants. Total budget that is there is 339 cumulative for the 3 years. To date, we've spent 264 and the unspent balance of 74, which we are closing by December 2023, and we expect to have finalized all the payments by December 2023. Then the next slide is looking at how we've been performing. I think we'll just look at the key ones from 2014 to 2024. In terms of domestic financing versus external financing, the top part is reflecting the external financing or the donor financing towards the health service sector. Then the bottom part is reflecting what we are putting in as the government of Zimbabwe. Our best year so far has been 2018, where we had $634 million that we got as the budget for the year, against the $433 million coming from partners. The worst year was 2020, which had $117 million from government of Zimbabwe, against 418 from partners. So for 2024, the outlook is not looking so great, where we are having 87, an equivalent. This budget that we are getting is equivalent of 87 million against a proposed budget or partner funding of 330. So it is our hope that Ministry of Finance will find additional resources to fund us, so that our health sector, we have to be funding it from our pockets as government of Zimbabwe, and the partners will be then coming in to complement what we are already financing and providing the service. So the figures that are on this slide are in absolute figures for the year 2024. They are appearing on the last slide there, where we are saying of the 330 to 286 million, then it is broken down to communicable diseases, about 225 million, family health issues, these are partner funded support, 17 million, non-communicable diseases is the least funded with our partners, and we were expecting that we will be funding it as government of Zimbabwe. It's at 799,000, environmental health, 328,000.
Ndakuzvisawo advantage yacho kuti izvozvi pairi kuuya iri from treasury yanyanyosiyana nemushandisiro wemari dai manda kushandisa mega this 2% inoya from airtime. Number 2, domestic resource mobilization takumambotaura nyaya yekuti mari iri kushota, especially like budget pese zvacho yaishota except pamacontraceptives nepamwe andichanyatsona kuti islide nambani. Pamacontraceptives yakakwana kuno pese maiti nemakurira maikwa 4%, 6%, whatever. Ko imwe mari pane unokwa hupi wekuti dai taiona kupi. For example, ndangotaura kuti like izvozvi pane ma-MCDs ndakutatira zvakanaka ngatikoti vanozwa makensa ekusmoka pane effort iri kuti nyaya yepakusmoka ipapo paonimwe fund inouya through that kuti pamasigarettes anotengeswa maybe tione maresources from there kuti every cigarette yatengeswa kana packet paite percentage yemari inouya kuti ibatsire vaya vakutozwa muchesti macho. How else are we going to get that money just waiting from treasury kana kuti toita mamwe mabhinda kuti api maproposa kuti dai wano mari yanini yauya. Then ndoda kuvhunza zvimwe mubvunzo wekuti ndanzwa muchinzi a lot has been done in terms of trying to equip mahospitals. Ndinofunga nesu tinozviona zvichibuda zvichiita asi kunombobuda mashoko ekuti hakuna kumira zvakanaka, hakuna kumira zvakanaka. Isi tichizwa kuti kune ma-equipment anongoda service chete. Takafamba takaenda kuBulawayo kuMphilo Hospital tikaona mamwe ma-gadgets ma-equipment ariko inoda 80,000 US asi kuitenga inoita mamiliyoni akati kuti. What effort have you budgeted for that? Because there are a number of machines akangogara anoda service chete pabudget wapa. Have you really made sure kuti mari budget for that so that ese angakwanisika kuripeiwa ashandi nekuti kutemba akatengwa ari. Thank you.
Was it poor budgeting on our part, or was it because of inflation? We alluded to inflation. Why am I saying so? When we budgeted last year, when we came to this house to make a presentation, Minister of Finance had given us an exchange rate, an anticipated exchange rate for the next year to be using, and the expected exchange rate was 680. However, 680 dollars to the dollar. By April, we were at more than 2,700 to the dollar. As we are speaking, we are at more than 5,500 to the dollar. So it's mainly.
So you're saying 680?
Zimbabwe dollars.
680 for the dollar?
Yes, in December last year. We are now at 5,580 and probably outside 7,000. Zimbabwe dollars to the dollar. So it's mainly to do with inflation, because if we look at that, that's about more than times 9, the figure, the inflation rate. So actually the rate at which they gave us additional budget is far much lower than the rate at which the inflation, they took away the value of our budgets. Then the second question on maternal and child health care. Yes, we acknowledge, honorable member, and this is actually what we call a forced saving that was coming our way, whereby we are saying we have priorities. Minister of Finance is ready to fund us, but there is no dollar for under the budget line item for gas. There are funds which are still available under maternal. They would instruct us to virament, they authorize the virament, they move the money. So now that we want it, we've made applications and we've not yet received our 4th quarter. But in this, we are expected to be getting more. However, I don't think we'll be getting up to the maximum that we need of 36 billion because we are owing supplies under that line up to 36 billion, but we expect to be getting an additional budget as well in that line. We have highlighted that that movement is that we are in violation of the PFM Act, but because they give us the instruction to do so, we've told them to put it in writing so that tomorrow we have something that tells us that this is the instruction that came. Then, Honorable Shaw, the health levy fund, how different would it be? Initially, when the health levy came, the perception that we got was we were going to be getting our budgets approved as is, and then the health levy, it also came through the House, you also approved it. It was additional to the Ministry of Finance budget. But after 3 years, we were then told, no, you can't put it as an additional budget. It's actually just a source of financing in terms of cash, but the budget that we are budgeting is still within that budget. They take the health levy collections, they support our budget which is included. But if it comes differently, it comes specifically for a specific purpose. When we have for medical supplies, surgical supplies, lab reagents, not remembering the other fourth one, yet when it's in the budget, it's competing with every other activity, including running magetsi. Zvatabotaura kuti kana atovharwa magetsi pachipatara totomhanya kuabhadhara chero tisina mapiritsi acho, so that we continue then to provide a service. So how would the hospital survive then? That's where the creditors are ending up being very high. They will take suppliers in as well. So if we get it, it will assist us to take it on time. This item of creditors are as a ministry or as government of Zimbabwe. Then what are our plans to collect when it comes to like cancers, the lungs and so forth? We have the tobacco levy, which currently the treasury is collecting. We have made previous attempts to apply to get a portion of the tobacco levy, because we know that if we say give us all, it's not feasible. We've made applications before to say give us a portion of the tobacco levy, so that we are able to finance specifically LCDs that have to do with tobacco or with smoking. And this has been done before, but we have not yet been successful. Probably with your lobbying as well, Minister of Finance, continue lobbying with Minister of Finance, so that they give us just a portion of that amount. I think it will go a long way in supporting NCDs, especially cancer of the lungs, which is prevalent amongst especially our youth. Then equipment, I think this one I'll leave for my PS for equipment pays disorder.
Thank you.